Testing 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2 for podium 1, podium 2. I'll do one last white balance too for anyone that needs it. Check 1, 2. Test 1, 2 for audio. 1, 2. Testing 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2, 2, 2. Check 2. How are we doing there, Chris, for audio? Check 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Test 1, 2 for media 1, media 2 here at Canada House. Check 1, 2. Podium check 1, 2. Testing 1. Testing 2, 2. Test 3, 4. Check 1, 2. 2, 3. Check 1, 2. 2, 2. Test 1, 2, 3. Did you need a white balance there, Sean? You're okay? Okay. Testing 1, 2, 2. Checking 1, 2 for audio for Chris. Canadian Pool, test 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 2. Check 3, 4. Testing 1. Yeah, this is the speech. Yeah. Testing 1, 2. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2 for DeGero test. Audio test 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Check 3, 4. Test 1, 2. 2, 2. Doug, after that, if we can get an audio test on the question mic. Yeah, we'll get that. Journalist, yeah, we'll get that in one moment. Testing 1, 2. Test 1, 2. 2, 3. Doug, whenever we're done with the podium, we'd just like a test of the Q&A mic. Test 1, 2. Yeah, yeah. Test 1, 2. Audio 1 for Q&A mic. Yeah. Test 1, 2. Check 1, 2 for Q&A mic. Q&A mic 1, 2.
You might want to move it back. Just they moved it back.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Perfect. Thank you. Seconds.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I want to begin by expressing my deep gratitude to His Majesty King Charles III for his warm welcome and gracious hospitality that he showed me, he showed Canada with today's audience. We have a steadfast defender in our sovereign. Also want to thank Prime Minister Starmer for a valuable discussion on how our long-standing economic and security partnership can help build growth, prosperity, and security for our citizens today. As Prime Minister Starmer mentioned in our session, Canada and the United Kingdom share a history, we share values, we share a sovereign. And those shared values between Canada and the United Kingdom, Canada et la République française, ont été démontrés avec notre partenariat pour l'Ukraine. They are demonstrated through the leadership of Prime Minister Starmer, President Macron, and Canada's participation in the coalition of the willing for Ukraine. Our relationship with two of the founding peoples, two of the three founding peoples of Canada, date back to the 1500s. It's a relationship that is built on values. It's a relationship that is built on economic interests and purpose. Nous sommes prêts à défendre nos valeurs communes, à répondre aux nouvelles menaces mondiales et à apporter des changements qui profitent autant aux Canadiens et Canadiennes et qu'aux Britanniques et les Français et les Françaises. Notre histoire commerciale commune a commencé il y a plus de 350 ans ici et s'est développée dans les premiers temps de la Confédération avec les préférences impériales et se développe aujourd'hui dans le cadre de nos nouvelles relations commerciales. You know, it's a long history of commercial relationships that extend back over the centuries. We're in Canada House, which is marking its 100th anniversary, so but a fraction of that. And I'm reminded of it because, of course, it looks out on Nelson's column. And you can find another column dedicated to Nelson in Place Jacques-Cartier à Montréal. And the flag that flies over that column includes the fleur-de-lis for France, the shamrock for Ireland, the thistle for Scotland, the rose for England, and the white pine for the peuple autochtone du Canada. That is an example of the diversity of Canada. The wonder of Canada is built off of that diversity. And it's through that and through those values that we have built our country. It is on those values that we will make our decisions and build our relationships in this world. So I'm grateful for the welcomes and the constructive discussions both of Prime Minister Starmer and President Macron. And with that, I'd be pleased to take your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Premier Ministre. We will begin with questions from the UK delegation. Over to you for the first question.
Anything could happen now. It's the UK delegation. Please.
Thank
I
you.
look forward. Thank you for coming.
You've seen the economic forecasts. They're not great. Are you certain that Canada can avoid a recession? And are you reopening trade negotiations with the UK?
Well, there's a lot in that question. First off, look, this trade uncertainty, the actual tariffs, but then also the uncertainty around what other trade actions could be taken by the world's largest economy are having an impact. They're having an impact on the United States itself. That impact on the United States will continue to grow. The impact of weakening U.S. economy has an impact on everyone else. But of course it has a direct impact as well on the affected countries. It's not welcome. What we see is a number of things, a number of measures that we can take ourselves. We can't control the trade policy of the United States. We don't pretend to control policies of other countries. What we can control is our own domestic economic policy. There's many opportunities in Canada. It's a very strong economy, but it could be much stronger. We could have one Canadian economy instead of 13. We can build the millions of houses that Canadians need. We can diversify our trading relationships. We can build new trading corridors, and we can fully realize what Canada is, which is an energy superpower in both clean and conventional energy, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We are going to get stronger, while those who take trade actions get weaker.
Next question. Welcome back, Lise Doucette of
Come
BC.
home. Come home.
Canadian,
Yes.
Brunswicker. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. You
came on this first foreign trip making it clear that you needed public support for Canada as it faces not just a trade war. You say you were enthusiastic. Enthusiastic. That was your word today. Enthusiastic support as Canada faces not just a trade war, but threats to its sovereignty. You didn't get that in London. You didn't even get a press conference next to Sir Keir Starmer. Do you regret that? And if you can't take that back to Canada, tell us what is the top thing you achieved in the last 24 hours that you can go back to Canada and that you can say, they have our back.
Great to see you, Lise. I'll say a couple of things. As I said when I was sworn in, which was just Friday, so you don't have to go far back in the BBC archives to find the clip. As I said then, we don't need another country to validate our sovereignty. We are sovereign. We don't need praise from another country. We are proud in and of ourselves. I would point out that the Prime Minister made a point of referring to our sovereignty, made a point of referring to our shared sovereign in King Charles III. So if you're looking for some evidence to your question, you have both my statement of Friday and you have that of the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Look, this 36 hours, and that is what it is effectively, away from Canada, the focus is on security, deepening security partnerships with France, with the United Kingdom. Those discussions are necessarily sensitive. They're revealed in the full course of time. I'm encouraged by the progress that has been made. Secondly, advancing the support for Ukraine is very necessary. You may have seen that I have invited President Zelensky to the G7. I look forward to hosting him in Canada in June. There are a host of other measures that we are taking as part of the coalition willing to support that. And it also includes economic opportunities with respect to, for example, artificial intelligence, critical minerals, broadening out existing trade relationships that are functioning quite well, and I mean both CETA with respect to the provisional arrangements around CETA with respect to the European Union, where our trade has grown by more than 60%, and similarly with the UK FTA. So we're taking back a lot, but we're also taking back a deepening of our core partnerships, which is the objective. And we're 2/3 of the way through. And if you'd like to come to Iqaluit, you will see more. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now begin the Canadian delegation portion. À la délégation canadienne, on va prendre une vingtaine de minutes de questions. C'est à vous.
Prime Minister Brian Platt with Bloomberg. There's been a lot of talk on this trip about cooperation in general between Canada and the UK and Canada and France, but there's areas where that cooperation is not happening right now. With the UK, the trade talks, the free trade deal between the two countries, those talks are stalled. And the UK so far has chosen not to retaliate against Trump's tariffs, whereas Canada has retaliated. Did you bring up any specific ways, either on the restarting trade talks or on coordinating retaliation in your meetings today?
Well, look, we take our own decisions with respect to our bilateral trade relationships with the United States. We're not trying to organize a coordinated retaliation. Other countries will take those decisions. For example, what we can do are a series of measures, and there are limits ultimately to this, but there's a series of measures that have maximum impact on the United States and minimum impact on Canada. Those measures that we take might have a different impact on the UK and on France. So, look, we don't look for that form of coordinated retaliation. That's not helpful necessarily to those countries, but it's not helpful to the overall process. What we're looking for with respect to the United States is to have a more comprehensive discussion of and negotiation of our overall commercial and security relationship. And when the United States is ready to have that conversation, we're more than ready to sit down.
Did you bring up the stalled trade talks in your meetings?
Look, we have a free trade agreement with the United Kingdom, which covers 99% of goods that are traded. We have a free trade agreement with the European Union, which covers 99% of the goods that are traded. There are issues with respect to agriculture. No, it wasn't my top priority today. My top priorities related to security, related to Ukraine, related to issues related that we will bring to the table in the G7, specifically in and around AI, critical metals and minerals, and the evolution of the commercial system. Thank you.
Louis Blouin de Radio-Canada. Vos adversaires à Ottawa vous accusent de n'avoir rien accompli de tangible aujourd'hui avec ce voyage-là et de mener une opération de relations publiques préélectorale. Qu'est-ce que vous leur répondez?
Non, c'est pas correct du tout. Hein. Mes adversaires disent beaucoup de choses tous les jours qui ne sont pas correctes. Non, c'est important. On a eu des discussions très importantes, très concrètes avec le président de la France, et y compris les discussions sur la sécurité fondamentale de notre pays, de la coopération dans les manières de la défense de notre pays, des discussions sur l'Ukraine et un renforcement de notre partenariat avec la France et puis avec le Royaume-Uni en ce qui concerne l'intelligence artificielle. Je comprends, c'est difficile pour l'opposition de comprendre tout cela parce qu'ils utilisent tout le temps des slogans de 3 mots. Mais ça, c'est le monde actuel, c'est pas le monde inventé.
Campagne électorale.
Non, pas encore.
Hello, Prime Minister. Catherine Cullen from CBC. I noticed you said we have a steadfast defender in our sovereign. Behind closed doors, did any of the leaders you met with today offer assurances that they would have Canada's back if Donald Trump uses greater economic force or more to annex or absorb Canada?
Well, I would know. Let me state the obvious, which is that all of us are members of NATO. All of us have to respect Article 5 of NATO. So the or more part of your question is unthinkable. What we did discuss is, particularly with France, is deeper security and military cooperation, which is in the interest of overall global security. And we did discuss in both cases deepening of our economic ties. Thank you.
Prime Minister Mike Couture with CTV News. I take your point earlier on a number of our allies talking about our sovereignty today. But nobody's come out forcefully and said those comments about the 51st state are just not on. Do you think that our traditional allies are not sticking their necks out because they're concerned that if they say something that'll anger President Trump, that they'll be next?
I think I would take seriously what the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom said today. I don't think one needs to respond to every comment about another country. Look, we can stand up for ourselves. It's Canada strong. We can stand up for ourselves. We've called out those comments. They're disrespectful. They're not helpful. And they need to stop before, and they will have to stop before we sit down and have a conversation about our broader partnership with the United States. But we're Canada. We don't need other people to come to our aid. Come on. C'est pas nécessaire d'avoir d'autres pays nous aident. Nous sommes Canada, le Canada fort. Okay?
You don't think it'd be helpful that they come out and say something as
we have
strong as
other
that?
things. Look, when the Prime Minister of Canada sits down with the President of France or the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, we talk about our relationships and where we have responsibilities, not what others are doing. Madame.
Mr. Carney, Stephanie Levitz, the Globe and Mail. We understand that you have now placed your assets in a blind trust, so you don't know what's happening to them going forward, but you knew what they were going into that blind trust. So what are they?
Look, Stephanie, I follow the rules of the Ethics Commissioner. I'm following them well in advance of any of the requirements, as you know, because I know you know this. You know that these requirements come into effect in months. We're talking days after I became Prime Minister. So I'm complying with the rules of the Ethics Commissioner, going through the processes and all these things that are necessary. And I will remind you, and I'll remind Canadians again, that the Leader of the Opposition cannot find it. And look, you look at the questions this evening, you look at the nature of the discussions, you look at the nature of discussions I had with the President of France, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. The Leader of the Opposition would not be capable of having those discussions because the Leader of Opposition refuses to get his security clearance, something that it took me a few weeks to get. And he has been the Leader of the Opposition for 3 years. So I comply with my responsibilities, I comply with the rules well in advance, and the Leader of the Opposition doesn't take his responsibilities at a time of, well, you should take these responsibilities at any time, but it's particularly remarkable given the stakes in global geopolitics at the moment.
The rules say that those assets should be publicly disclosed within 120 days, which means you'll campaign in a coming federal election, most likely within the next 120 days, and are serving as Prime Minister now, with Canadians not being aware of what potential conflicts of interest you sought to avoid.
What possible conflict would you have, Stephanie? Stephanie, I'm complying with the rules. I'm complying with the rules in advance. Point final.
Are you saying you are not open to any conflict of interest?
Yes.
Someone who spends most of his life in the private sector, there's no possible conflict of interest in your assets. That's very difficult to believe.
Look inside yourself, Rosemary. I mean, you start from a prior of conflict and ill will. I have served in the private sector. I have stood up for Canada. I have left my roles in the private sector at a time of crisis for our country. I'm complying with all the rules. Your line of questioning is trying to invent new rules. I'm complying with the rules that Parliament has laid out and the responsibilities of the Ethics Commissioner. And I will continue to comply with those rules.
Bonjour, Émilie Bergeon, la presse canadienne. Monsieur Carney, vous avez dit que vous voulez bâtir des infrastructures énergétiques d'ouest en est et d'est en ouest et vous voulez développer des partenariats énergétiques avec l'Europe. Est-ce que vous avez discuté, par exemple, de LNG et quel échéancier vous donnez pour avoir des projets d'infrastructures bâtis au Canada? 2, 3 ans?
D'accord. Premièrement, je suis ouvert à des projets ouest à l'est, mais ce n'est pas une décision. Ce n'est pas seulement à moi de faire cette décision. Il faut avoir un projet, comme vous l'avez mentionné, un projet actuel, pas seulement un conseil. Il faut avoir l'appui, le soutien des provinces, le soutien des Premières Nations qui seront été affectées. Alors, il y a beaucoup à faire avant d'avoir un projet actuel qui fonctionne. On verra.
Vous souhaitez diversifier les marchés canadiens, donc comment vous pouvez faire ça rapidement tout en prenant...
Oui, ça prend du temps, ça c'est sûr. Ça prend du temps de faire des grands projets. Et c'est une des raisons pour laquelle il faut identifier les provinces et le fédéral, identifier les projets qui sont dans l'intérêt national. Et ça, ce sera un processus entre nous.
Hi, Mr. Prime Minister. You told your defense minister to review the F-35 contracts, and what I want to know is what exactly are you talking about? What's on the table exactly?
Well, the way Cabinet works, or at least the way Cabinet works in my government, is the Defence Minister and I had a conversation. The Defence Minister raised the issue with me. We had a discussion about Canada's options, and the fact is that under the contract, as you may know, after a certain number of purchases, then we have options on subsequent aircraft. Given the geopolitical environment, given the fact that there are options, given the need for value for money, given the possibility of having substantial production of alternative aircraft in Canada, as opposed to sending, as we have been, on average 80 cents of every dollar to the United States, it's prudent and in the interest of Canada to review those options, and that's what the process that the Defence Minister has initiated.
Is this something that your allies are asking you about, or what is it that you're telling your allies with respect to this? My understanding is that President Macron, for example, is shopping around, don't buy U.S., buy European military goods, and that they have replacements.
Well, I think, well, I can tell you what's in the public domain. I can tell you in the public domain that the, for example, Portugal is the government of Portugal is taking steps to diversify their supply. What's also in the public domain is a very substantial effort in Europe to so-called rearm Europe, which is a significant consolidation and increase in the amount of defense spending in Europe. Now, that is of interest to us as Canada because as a potential alternative supplier. It creates the potential to create supply chains that mean that Canadian companies are participating in the development of these defense systems. And we are actively exploring, and this, full disclosure, this is one of the discussions that I had both in Paris and in the UK, was the potential participation. Now, the UK is not formally in that, but we can see, particularly given our security posture in Europe, given potential steps in Ukraine, given our own security needs, that diversification of our suppliers in a way that ensures that as much as possible of that production resides in Canada and benefits Canadians in multiple ways is a prudent thing to do. That's what I can tell you.
Bonjour, Monsieur Carney. Joël Denis Bellavance de la presse. On est tous choqués au Canada par le comportement de Donald Trump et des États-Unis. Croyez-vous que l'Amérique que l'on voit aujourd'hui, c'est l'Amérique qui va s'installer pour de bon? En d'autres mots, est-ce que c'est le new normal, les États-Unis que l'on voit aujourd'hui?
Merci pour votre question. C'est une bonne question. OK? Nous sommes dans une situation où, comme les Canadiens et Canadiennes, on doit diviser des choses qu'on peut contrôler, comme vous le savez. On peut être maître chez nous dans le domaine économique domestique et des choses qu'on ne peut pas contrôler. À ce moment-ci, c'est difficile d'avoir l'influence aux États-Unis. C'est pas normal. Hein. Normalement, on a des discussions. Les Américains prennent leurs décisions, c'est correct, mais normalement, on a des discussions avec eux. C'est pas exactement le cas maintenant. Nos intérêts, selon moi, nos intérêts sont assez alignés que ça va changer dans un certain temps, mais ce n'est pas clair exactement quand. Ouais.
Je vous pose la question, c'est qu'aujourd'hui, nous devons prendre des décisions qui vont nous affecter pour les années à venir concernant nos relations avec les Américains.
Ce qui est clair est que nos relations commerciales sont trop concentrées aux États-Unis. Ce qui est clair est que nos relations sécuritaires sont trop concentrées aux États-Unis. Il faut diversifier, ça c'est clair. Alors, c'est une des raisons pour lesquelles ma première visite est à Paris et à Londres. D'accord.
Tonda McCharles with the Toronto Star. In Canada today, your political opponent, Mr. Poilievre, said that he would ask the industrial price on carbon. And I'd like to understand from you if you think that at this time, with all the threats against many of our big mainstay industries, which also are large emitters, if you think that your plan to tax them remains a viable and publicly supported plan.
Yeah. So our plan, and in fact the regime that's in place in Canada, and a variant of this regime is in place. There are some variants, as you know, Tonda, between the provinces, but a variant of this, linked to California, is in place with Quebec and British Columbia, is to have a form of price for the largest, on carbon, for the largest emitters, said differently, the largest polluters. Now, what we are doing is changing that system or improving that system so that the price that's paid can be reduced by so-called carbon credits that are allocated. We are adding additional ones. We will be adding additional ones that ensure that the polluters are paying so that Canadians can receive support to reduce their own emissions. So it's a more efficient system. It works better for the large polluters. It works better for Canadians. And it also is a system that recognizes the new trading reality. So we have to be able to connect the dots, something that the opposition is totally incapable of doing, proven themselves totally incapable of doing. So on the one hand, we have our largest trading partner, as we've been discussing, attacking us, putting tariffs on us. On the other hand, we have the opportunity to diversify trade. Guess what one of the requirements is to diversify trade to the European Union? Guess what one of the requirements is to diversify trade to the United Kingdom? Guess what one of the requirements will be to diversify trade to emerging Asia? Is to have a form of price on carbon. So we are able to think one step ahead. We're able to go out and see the world. We're able to help Canadian companies prepare. And you know what's going to happen 5 years, 10 years from now? If I have the pleasure of being in front of you, you'll be asking me the question, if we didn't do this, if we didn't help our companies get more prepared, the Americans are going to start caring about this again. They have elections every 4 years. They cared a great deal about this 3 months ago. Now all of a sudden they don't care about it. They're going to care about it again. We have an enormous opportunity here in Canada. The United Kingdom has an enormous opportunity. France has an enormous opportunity. Europe has an enormous opportunity to leapfrog over American companies where they're trying to turn back the clock and look inwards. We're going to take that opportunity. We're going to take that opportunity. It's going to create jobs, and it's going to create new markets for our country.
President Trump has, thank you. My follow-up is that on April 2nd, President Trump is promising a much larger global tariff regime, including bringing back in the threatened 25% across the board tariffs on Canada. And you've talked about the need for retaliatory tariffs at a dollar-for-dollar level. One assumes the punch coming is going to be much greater. Yeah. How much more are you prepared? How much more are you prepared to go in terms of the monetary hit back, and how much do you think Canada can absorb?
It's an important question. It's a very important question. There is a limit, given the relative size of our economies, the extent to which we should match U.S. tariffs. Right now, what the government has proposed, and with the 150 billion odd identified products, are products that have, as I said earlier, maximum impact in the United States and limited, but not zero. It's limited impact in Canada that we can affect. And my government's commitment, is that we will use all of the revenues from those tariffs to support Canadian workers that are affected by the U.S. trade actions. Pierre Poilievre's commitment, as his commitment is anytime anything changes, is he's going to use it to cut taxes. So if you aren't paying any taxes because you don't have a job, you're out of luck. Okay, we're going to go help those who are affected by it, as we should, as Canadians want us to, in my view. Now, so just to summarize on your question, there are limits. Now we'll see what happens April 2nd. We'll see what happens after that. We are not going to take an action that we think is not ultimately going to influence the United States, and certainly not one that is outright harmful to Canada, given the overall approach. So this will be very deliberate, and there is a limit, full stop. There is a limit to matching these tariffs dollar for dollar, given the fact that our economy is a tenth the size of the United States. Thank you.
Let's put that into our press conference. Thank you.
That's it. Bon, merci. La réponse en français. Il y a une limite, pour les tarifs dollar pour dollar parce que notre économie est 1 sur 10 la taille des États-Unis. Et on va cibler nos tarifs dans des cas afin d'avoir un impact maximum aux États-Unis et un impact minimum ici au Canada. Alors, merci beaucoup.